One day, 7 art prompts. But I don't want to just draw the prompts. We're on a mission. I want to learn how to stylize for Inktober. This is ink we need to prep. Of course, we need a sketchbook and some paintbrushes, a dip pen, and lots of ink. This time we get to choose lots of different crazy colors because we've already completed the very first week, which was monochrome. Starting the second week of prompts with a very difficult one, reckless. And this is the sketch. I do not have high hopes. How are we gonna pull this off? Reaching for some really pretty colors and realizing I actually can't open any of them. So I guess we'll use these. The idea for reckless is, well, it's somebody walking on a tightrope really high. So technically these are clouds. And yet we're adding yellow and pink, which is a move. We need an acrylic ink or an India ink. I don't know very much about inks at all, but from the 24-hour challenge where we completed the entirety of Peachtober and the first week of prompts, I'm realizing that this seems to be the better ink for line work, especially on this paper. This is handmade paper and a lot of the inks do spread. Acrylic and India ink seem to be the only ones that actually stay still on top of the watercolor ink. I think this might just be because it's handmade paper. I love using 100% cotton paper and I do love this paper, but some of the inks do behave a little bit odd and this is a learning curve. Hopefully we'll figure it out as time goes on. The person is a silhouette and the rope is very difficult to add. Also, the clouds are looking very bright and chaotic. Maybe the pink should have been diluted a little bit because this is very bright. So we're loosely adding clouds, so it kind of looks like a sky. Honestly though, this is one of the most difficult art prompts I've ever completed. And on to prompt number 9, heavy. Which color should we choose? I'm gravitating towards these. The thing I love most about India ink is that once it's down, it's waterproof. That means that once we add the first layer, even if it's added to water and we've got loads of lovely blooms and it's all messy, once that's down, it cannot be touched at all. It's a really versatile medium. There are lots of different ways to use it. You can also use a dip pen like this, and you know that everything down below isn't gonna budge in the slightest, which is a refreshing change from watercolor, especially because the watercolor inks behave in the same way as watercolor in that sense. So the prompt is heavy. I thought of an elephant and we are stylizing like crazy right now. This is what I'm talking about. I've actually tried this style a few times before. Last year I did it with acrylic markers for Peachtober, then again this year for Peachtober, and now we're trying it again, but this time it's big. Here is the process. We have an elephant, we have line work, we have random doodles, and we have a base color. So now all we need to do is color in specific areas. And this sounds simple, but I am making quite a few mistakes right now. Simplified, the squares that are diagonal need to be the same theme. If the background is dark, the square diagonal to that also needs to be dark. However, this gets a little bit tricky with some choices that were made. There are spirals which don't really fit this in the slightest. Also, the elephant's ears are kind of separate to the face and the trunk is in front of the body. So there's an additional darker layer which might have saved this, hopefully. Inktober prompt number 10 is sweep. That is tricky. This is the sketch and the next style is very loose and messy. It's a tree, so we need tree colors. Browns, greens. Winsor & Newton have lots of those, so that is the ink of choice. These are also the inks that kind of reactivate when you add a second layer, so we're gonna try and avoid that if possible. Just pop that water down, maybe add an orange as well. I want to use the wet on wet technique, and only that. Add ink, watch it bloom, but try to control it. It's a tree blowing in the wind, and I'm hoping that this will look all cute and fuzzy, blended out. But that hasn't happened. So what do? We need to adapt. How's about we get a brown, dry off the brush, and try to dry brush some texture onto this tree. It wasn't the idea, it's not what I'm going for, but when it comes to monthly art challenges like this, you really need to come up with ideas on the spot. If something isn't going to plan, try and fix it quickly so you can move on to the next prompt, even if it's a big change. And on to number 11, which is Sting. We are making a Lord of the Rings inspired piece. I am scared. We have a sketch and we need ink. How's about we choose a different color palette? Brown and purple? I'm hoping this will look a little bit vintage because we are drawing Sting, the sword that Bilbo finds in The Hobbit and gives to Frodo in Lord of the Rings. Yes, that's what I thought of. I think another route that you could go with this prompt is B? Oh, that could be cute. Maybe a fawn? This is quite a good prompt actually. There's a lot of different routes you can go. But with this route, we have a frame, a very loose, flowy background that uses the wet on wet technique. And now we're using India ink to add the frame and the line work. It's quite an intricate sword, so we need to have some patterning around it that's gonna match this. It spirals. I guess when I decided to stylize for Inktober, spirals was the only thing that came to mind. Honestly though, I don't tend to make detailed art like this. This is really pushing my comfort zone, and I don't know how we're gonna pull this together. Okay, I think the next step is to add the frame. Wet the entire frame, well, in sections, and drop ink down. I figure that should be darker than the actual background so that the sword can be dark too. Going over that line work again, but this is not what I had in mind. It's gone wrong. Look at this. This is what I mean. The ink separates on this paper. Oh, it looks so bad. I think we need acrylic ink to try and salvage this piece. We're going over everything again. Yes, we started with the dip pen line work and then moved to the brush line work, and now we are going over again with the paintbrush. And this line work is gonna have to be pretty thick to cover up all of that fuzz from when it just spreaded everywhere. We're not fully covering it up, we're just trying to neaten up the edges. Make it look like it's a bit more intentional, and I think to do that, we're just gonna have to do the entire thing over again. Plus, we've also got the purple acrylic ink to hopefully make it look a bit more like this is actually planned. It's a strange color palette, but it kind of is working. I will say though, this is taking a lot more time than I anticipated, but I really want to get this right. The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are my favorite movies, and I really want to do this piece justice. So again, we're thinking it up on the spot, but also trying to work quickly. And that's it. What do you think? Did we salvage this piece? Does it look intentional? Number 12 is shredded. Wish me luck. Well, we are not drawing a muscular person. I don't want to do that. We have green ink because we're drawing something different. Shredded meat in a baguette. Yes, I took the prompt shredded and we are drawing food. Starting off with a simple striped background. This is a lot harder than it looks, but I will say it looks pretty cool. Kind of want to do this again. Oh, disaster. I went to shake the yellow bottle and it was already open. Got it on the desk, got it on my jumper. What a mess. Oh, so sad. And it's not coming off my hands. But anyway, we're changed. Let's get back to it. Yellow for the plate. That's an interesting choice. Honestly, I think at this point I'm just reaching for the India inks because they shouldn't spread over the lines. I don't want every single piece to have bold line work. There are lots lots of different ways to go with ink. It's a really versatile medium. Personally, I am more drawn to the way that it looks in water like this. When it blends and it just looks so pretty, that is the part of ink that I love the most. Even adding ink like this now and just dropping a different color in, that's where I think this medium really shines. Of course, you can do the line work too, just to make it pop a little bit, like I'm having to. This one is really surprising me. And I do want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. And I think we've kind of pulled this off. Let's just tighten those bottles in case. This is shredded. Turned out so much better than I could have imagined. Not sure it looks like food or drink, but it's a style. Very similar, we're on to number 13, which is drink. The last two prompts have been difficult, so let's keep it simple. Reaching for a pink. We're working in negative space and creating something that kind of almost looks like a sticker. Simply, it is a drink with a nice fun border, and this is already taking a lot less time than I thought it would. I guess because it is one color and there isn't very much detail, and sometimes negative space can be quite quick because it is a style in itself. So somehow it's done. And with that, we're ending the second week of prompts with number 14, trunk. And with that, we are on negative space again to paint a tree trunk. We need some fun colors. Tree colors, of course, but we've already used brown. So why don't we lean into more of a blue-green and more like an orange instead? This is gonna be bright. Okay, I don't know about you, this might just be me, but when I get an idea of a theme or art style, it just keeps popping up. And I don't quite realize that I'm actually creating very similar ideas. It didn't cross my mind that we were going from negative space into negative space. I just saw the prompt and was like, oh, negative space. But it isn't a brand new idea. We've literally just done it. I find that with a lot of things, like in the daily doodle diary, I will draw the same thing like 4 times a week and then never draw it again. It is so strange. And I don't even realize I'm doing it. Do you do that? I want to say a huge thank you for joining me today. I really enjoy taking part in art challenges, so it means the world that you guys are also enjoying watching them, and it means I get to make videos like this. So thank you. I'll meet you back here in a few days' time. Bye bye.